Some people say to us, if you stand everywhere, which we will, 630 seats in England, Scotland and Wales, then actually you'll harm the Tories. You cannot reward 13 years of utter incompetent failure with more incumbency. Let's be under no illusion the Tories have broken Britain. Labour will bankrupt Britain, and it'll be left to reform UK's policies to save Britain. Britain needs reform, and reform needs all of you. And together, I'm absolutely convinced that we can shape, we can influence, and we can save Britain. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Richard Tice.
Hello, I'm back. I hope you haven't had too much of me. There's only another 2 hours to go. But seriously, thank you for that welcome and that video. And some amazing speeches, quite extraordinary, so energizing. The energy in this room, and we're feeling it up and down the country. It's quite extraordinary. We really, really appreciate all of that. Now, a very good friend of mine wanted to be here today, but he's a bit busy talking to someone else you may have heard of, by the name of Donald. So before I kick off, I think we've just got a short video from Nigel.
Well, I'm really sorry not to be with you in Doncaster today. I know you've got a huge turnout, and what a great job Richard Tice has done. Just keeping this party going through the last few years is one hell of an achievement. Well, the opinion polls are going the right way. The recent by-elections prove that. We've got everything crossed, of course, for Simon in Rochdale this coming Thursday. I'm not with you because I'm working. Donald Trump is speaking at CPAC here in Maryland, and I've got my job to do for GB News. So I may not be there physically, but I'm absolutely there with you in spirit. Have a great conference.
Thank you, Nigel. Now, Paul's touched on it, others have touched on it. Here's the thing. Our detractors, many in the media, they just assume we're a sort of pressure group, that it's a one election sort of just put a bit of pressure on the Tories. They're sort of thinking that we're like that old, do you remember The Italian Job? Do you remember dear old Michael Caine?
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. No, Michael, we're here for a lot longer than that. We are literally here to rebuild the United Kingdom after what the Tories have done it to. And this is not a short-term project. This is going to take some time. This is a medium-term project, but it's absolutely essential. Now, earlier, I was waving around that contract. And in business, we know what contracts mean. Other parties, they have this thing called a manifesto. Do you remember that manifesto pledge from the toxic Tories in 2019? They said they would take back control of our borders. Do you remember that? Are you sure? What happened? No, it's far worse than nothing. They said they would take back control of our borders, and they would reduce lawful immigration. The gentleman's quite right, he's laughing. I mean, the thing is, it's not a laughing stock, but it's just unbelievable what they've done, because actually, deliberately, they've done the opposite. And we have to talk about this. Because the thing is, the whole point of democracy is that you stand on a platform, and if voters vote for you, then they expect you to deliver on it. and we've been absolutely, utterly betrayed. The truth is that no one voted for, and there is no democratic consent for mass immigration. But what the Tories have done, they've just opened the doors, and in 2022, a city the size of Birmingham arrived in the United Kingdom. It'll be a similar number in 23, and probably a similar number in 24. You see, where we stand on this is we want smart immigration that works for both sides of the equation, that works for us as the host country and works for those coming to come and live with the great privilege of being in the United Kingdom. So we have a simple policy. It's called one in, one out. We should freeze non-essential immigration. Now, the great thing about immigration when it works is that it works so that you can absorb and integrate people into your communities so that they contribute into society. And we can all learn from that. But what the Tories have done is something completely and utterly different. What we've ended up with is a situation where multiculturalism, where people arrive and live in silos and don't integrate, aren't absorbed, that's led us to where we are. It's failed, and we have to have the courage to be honest about that. That's the reality. No one voted for mass immigration, and what it does a few things. Firstly, it's the basic laws, economic laws of supply and demand. Mass immigration depresses the wages of British workers. That's what's happened. And regrettably, that's why for too many people, the consequence of that is that too many people find that it no longer pays to work and therefore end up on benefits that I touched on earlier. Mass immigration affects the nature of our great British culture. Smart immigration, I think we absolutely want where people who come to the UK, they sign up to, they empathise, they respect the great British culture that we've been lucky enough to grow up and enjoy. Our heritage, our history, who we are, what we stand for, those values of tolerance, of respect, of compassion. Maybe someone here sent me a lovely email the other day. They said, the British culture, it's about language, law, and queuing. It's good to have a sense of humour on these things. I think we are quite good queuers, actually, because we are respectful. We are tolerant. That sense of fair play. I know we're at a race course, but another great sport, the sport of cricket, is about the sense of fair play. I'll tell you who we're not. I'll tell you what is not the British culture, and that's what's going on with some of these pro-Hamas marches in and around cities and towns and London. That is nothing to do with the British culture. I've been to a couple of those marches and just thought I'd go and have a chat with some of the people there. The last one, a bunch of demonstrators outside the BBC about 3 weeks ago. I just wanted to go and have a chat. I got shouted at, I got abused, I got pushed, I got shoved. They ramped up the music and the megaphone. They didn't want to engage in any form of rational debate. And that proves to me that actually, they don't respect our British culture. They want to abuse it. They want to change us. And I have to say thanks, but that's not for us. It's why you'll see in the contract that I've said, actually, we actually need to legislate that we do not want and allow any Sharia law in the United Kingdom anywhere. That's not who we are. It's not our gig. If that's your gig, there are plenty of other places where you can go and enjoy that. That's absolutely fine. That's freedom of choice. But this is the point. This is where we're at now, is that our democracy is being attacked. Simon talked earlier about what, and you saw it on the video, about what happened this week in Rochdale. But we've seen it in these marches. We saw earlier this week, we saw messages being beamed onto the Houses of Parliament in breach of the law, calling for genocide. There were police right next to the projector, and they did the square root of zip. This is the moment where I'd like to swear, but it's a family show. Absolutely nothing. We've had the Speaker in the House of Commons change convention for centuries. He knew he was doing wrong, but he did it out of fear. But this is what's happened, you see, because an extreme bunch of people have created a sense of fear with MPs demonstrating outside their homes, terrifying their children. And so we're now essentially being ruled by extremists, creating a sense of fear across our country, our leaders, and our establishment. It's so bad that the police themselves are now fearful. So they won't apply the law fairly. We've got two-tier policing. The reason the police wouldn't bring down that projector, I think it was Wednesday night, was he was afraid. A friend of mine was just nearby, had an egg thrown at him. The police were literally right there. Now, I'm pretty sure if I threw an egg at my friend in a demonstration, no reason why I would. I don't walk around with an egg in my pocket, I'll just check. I'm pretty sure I'd have been arrested, pretty sharpish. Because as someone touched on earlier, because we are the people of consent. We abide by the law. This is where we're at. And it's a terrible, terrible state. The Labour Party is absolutely terrified. We face a situation now, we are, I'm afraid to say, we are at Everest base camp of sectarian politics in the United Kingdom, and it's awful. But are you going to be cowed and beaten down by it? No. Are you sure? Yes. Excellent. I hope we're all together on this, because we have to stand up against this and say enough is enough. I think we're going to see this in this election, whenever it is. I think we're going to see independent Islamist candidates taking on and beating Labour candidates in certain constituencies. That's where we are with all of this. That's what happens when you have weak, gutless leadership. That's not who we are. That's not who I am. I'm going to stand up for our great United Kingdom. It's unbelievable that we've arrived at this situation. But I'm full of hope. I'm full of optimism that despite all of this, that actually, with your help, we can and we must prevail. It is so, so important. Now, when is the election going to be? Well, interestingly, my spy's in number 10. I have some. Sorry, sinking Sunak, I'm not going to say who. They tell me that meetings have taken place just in the last week about possibly advancing their thinking to May for a general election. Yeah. That's what I thought. But then I thought, no, actually, I can see that. He's terrified of reform on the one side, and he knows he's done a useless, awful job on the other side. So what I say to you, whether it's May, whether it's June, whenever, we, Reform UK, all of you, all of us, we absolutely must be ready. It is so, so important. Because if we're not, heaven knows where we end up. There we are, that could be Sunak on the line now. It could be happening. He's given me a ring, he's given up. There's all sorts going on. It's hard to keep up. But seriously, we don't know when it'll be. I actually say, and I think you say, bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. So my question to you folks and to everybody out there, are you ready? Yeah. I can't hear you. Are you ready? Yeah. We are ready to save Britain. Thank you very much.